detected. Begin sequence.
There's nothing quite like the real Daytona, that's for sure. But if you're like me and you don't have the room, you don't have the money to pick up a Daytona, then maybe you want to do what I've done here, and that's set up a emulated version and even have, you know, the twin play going. So I'm going to show you now how I've set this up and how it works. So let's have a look at what we have going on in front of us here. So two emulators running, communicating via network on the same PC though. So effectively it's using the same IP address but just using different port numbers to communicate between the two machines. Again, I'll show you how that works in a minute. But first of all, let's just pop into a game here. Right, so I'm going to put a coin in, and I'm using the back button on the controllers to put a coin in each machine, each virtual machine. So let's get this started. And we will do the beginner. And we'll select manual just because it makes you go a little bit faster actually. Don't really need, on the beginner track you don't really need manual. You're really sitting in fourth gear or third gear fourth gear most of the time, unless you crash of course. Now I'm not going to be able to control both cars here very effectively, but I just want to show you how it does actually work independently. So you can see on the left here, let me just control the left car, the red car. You can see me controlling that nicely. The blue car is stopped at the moment. I'm in, help if I changed out of gear. Okay, Greg, get it sorted. Right, third gear, fourth gear. Okay, and we are happily cruising around. And look, the controller's a little bit sensitive. You have to get used to that. But once you do, it works really, really well. Hop onto the other controller. The other one crashed there. I'll change gear. What am I doing? Here we go. Get into second, up into third, up into fourth. I just mapped the, I'll look down there. I just mapped the X, Y, A and B buttons to be the four gears. That works pretty well. So yeah, as you can see guys, completely independent, linked play, fantastic. So let's stop showing you this, and now let's get into the actual detail of how this is set up. So what I'm going to do is I'll just close down these two emulators and let's get into how this actually works. So what I've got guys is the Model 2 emulator, and you can get this, I'll just fire this up here, it's called M2, Model 2 EMU. Under help here it's got there's actually a link to the website there, but under the about, that's the address. So head over there and pick it up. It's easy to install. I won't cover all of that because that's all on the website of course. So you will need that, and you will need the Daytona USA ROMs. I can't obviously show you exactly where to get those, but I'm sure you can use Google to find the relevant ROMs. And that's it really. Once you've got the emulator installed and you've got the ROM, the ROMs go in the ROMs folder, and there's not a huge amount you need to change, but there is something. If you want to use the Xbox 360 controllers, you do need to go into this INI file here, and in this file there is, under input, there's X input. And that's normally set to 0, I think, by default. So you will have to change that to 1 if you want to use Xbox 360 controllers. There is, it does actually support force feedback effects, and of course I haven't, gone down that path, but I know someone who's actually, there's been a few people that actually use this emulator in Daytona machines, actually even with Daytona hardware, and one guy even integrated up the original force feedback on his Daytona machine to run with the emulator. So again, this is a solution that really can bring back a dead Daytona if you don't have the ability to fix your board sets, or you can't find a board set if you've got them missing. A great way to preserve the game and have it just running off a PC instead. And the emulation's pretty accurate. I can't pick anything obvious that's different. So anyway, you need to set that up there, and once you do that, the other thing you need to do is if you want to run multiple instances, which we have here, you know, we've got 2 running. What you do is after you've set this up, you copy that whole directory and make another directory. So you can see I've got another one here called Model 2 Player 2 and Model 2 Player 3, which is a direct copy of the first one. And there's a reason for that, because obviously you need to fire up 2 instances, but also each instance looks at its own network file, which needs to be in the directory to determine which machine it's going to talk to next. And so I'll show you that as well now. So by default, when you do install the Model 2 directory, you don't get this file here, which is m2 network.ini. So you need to create that. And it's a very basic file. We go in here and edit it. This is what it looks like in the first Model 2 directory. So really simple little network setup here. And all it's saying is that this is the receive port on 1978. The next IP is actually the IP address of this machine. So this next IP would be your IP address of your machine, and there's ways of finding out that. I won't go into that now, but you'll be able to find out your IP address, I'm sure. So you just need to put that in there, and then the next port, you just need to create what the next port number is, which would be the next machine. And so we'll see the next machine receive port will be 1979, and effectively the way that Daytona works is a token ring network, so it passes the packets, network packets, from machine to machine in a ring, effectively back down to the first machine. So yeah, so that's all you need to have set up in there. And in fact, these instructions for setting this up are in this. There's a guide that comes with it, and if I just open that up, there's quite a comprehensive guide here, and it talks about the setup for multiplayer here, and even, you know, how to set up an 8 game across a network. So other than what I'm telling you here, you can read through those instructions, and it also talks about how this is set up. So the difference between running this on a single PC and having multiple PCs is that with this network setup down here, and instead of changing the port numbers, you change the IP addresses. So the port numbers actually stay the same, and you then just increment change the IP to the IP of the next machine in the token ring. All right, so that's the setup for that one, and I'll just leave this little guy over to the left here. Now I'm going to flick back to emulators for my copy, complete copy of exactly the same thing. If I open up the network ini file here, we shall see that, like I said before, we can see that the receive port's 1979, which is the next port from the previous machine, and then the next port on this one goes back to the receive port of the first machine. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. It's not too difficult. All right, so that's the second machine, how that's set up. All right, so that's all you need to do for the configuration of the emulator in relation to the networking side of things. We've already talked about enabling the Xbox 360 controller, so from an emulator side, that's really all you have to do. Now, when we get into running the machine, so I'm going to run the second emulator here, remember, under the second directory. So I'll fire that up, and then I'll just bring that over this side so we don't get them mixed up. Get this out of the way. And then the next thing we need to do is load the ROMs. Now, when you're doing it, loading these ROMs with a multiple setup, there's a couple of things you need to be aware of. The first thing is that the ROMs themselves have a setup within them to allow you to select the type of machine that you've got and the way that it's configured, if it's a standalone or if it's part of a linked system. So what we want to do is we want to have one of the machines set up as a master, and we want one of the machines set up as a slave. And in fact, the way that Daytona works is that you have one master and multiple slaves. So if you've got right up to 8 machines, all the rest of them would be set and configured as slave machines. The second thing you need to be aware of is that when I've done my testing, it didn't seem to make a lot of difference when you just got 2 machines. But if you've got more than 2 machines running, you need to make sure the slave machines turn on first. Get all the slave machines up first, and then run the emulator for the master machine last. Otherwise, I had some problems with some of the slave machines coming up if I did it with the master first. So I'm going to come over to the slave machine here on the right, go to emulator, I'm going to go to load ROM, and we're going to load up the Daytona USA ROM. And you'll see here that the way that this machine is configured is as a slave, and the car number is number 2. And then the cabinet type is upright. That doesn't really matter, and the country and so forth, normal difficulty. The advertised sound off, that's that Daytona, which goes on and on and on if you've got that on. Classic sound, of course. So yeah, and you can see it's sitting here, network checking, and it's just waiting effectively for the master to come online. So if we go over to the emulator on this side, do the load ROM, and now we can see that this one is master and car number 1, and it's doing its little network checking. And you'll see once it actually straight in. Sometimes when it's got more than the 2, when I had the 3 for example, it sits there for a little while, and that network checking stops on each machine as it gets detected, and then they fire up. So we can see here now we've got our machines ready to run, and I'm just just resizing them to suit. And guys, that's it. And it doesn't really matter if you do that. When I move these windows around, it sort of stops the emulation on one side, and they sort of looks like they get out of sync. It doesn't seem to matter. I think as the token ring sends its packets around about where each machine's at, the machine just updates and catches up. So that's no problem. So that's about it in terms of getting emulation going. I'll show you the control configuration. So let's hop into configuration controls here of player 2, and of course same with player 1, although obviously we're using joystick 1 and joystick 2. And when you come in here initially, actually these check boxes aren't checked, so you need to check those because that provides you with analog for steering, acceleration and brake. And then when you click on that, you can then select, and you can see that there's a gamepad number 2, so you can select your gamepads. Now the first thing to note is that it natively supports the up to 4 Xbox 360 controllers. So by rights I could have a 4-screen setup here and have 4 players running no problem off the one machine, which is just crazy. It's just awesome. And maybe you can, with 5, 6, 7 and 8, you could use the other settings like the analog settings, or have one running off effectively a keyboard. That wouldn't be great, obviously. But there should be a way, I think, of using just the standard analog settings. That's by in that settings area, in that settings file, turning that Xbox off to 0. It changes this to just like a standard analog, and I think that's what you use for standard steering wheels and stuff. And maybe you can get a couple of Logitechs and it detects them differently. I don't know. Haven't gone that far yet, guys. But hey, you get 4 going, sitting back on a couch with 360 controllers. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. So yeah, so you select your controller there, and oops, and we've got a crash. All right. Well, occasionally I found that happens. Not always. So don't panic if that does happen. Just hop in there and try again. And obviously I'll need to restart the emulation here anyway, because it's going to be would have lost network completely. So let's load that ROM in, and the controls, by the way, are specific for each ROM, so you need to set them up specifically inside each ROM. So we'll just let this fire up and let it connect. There we go. And go back into configure controls. Now the funny thing was not funny, but I noticed on my setup, when I didn't have the Xbox 360 controls set up, and I went in here and clicked on what was showing here, which was just analog controls, it would crash every time actually when I tried to change that. So I don't know if that's specific to my setup and you're going to have the same issue or not, but it doesn't seem to crash as much with the 360 controls. Obviously just did then, but it shouldn't now. So yeah, so within the axes here, you can see you've got different things you can set up, which is effectively the sticks or the D-pad. Obviously, you wouldn't want the D-pad for your steering controls, but you've got the left and right trigger down the bottom here for the back acceleration and brake. So yeah, that's what I've got set up on here. Is effectively the gears, as I said, gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4. Left and right on here. I've got the start button here. I've got the coin button on the back, and then on the back buttons here, I've got the acceleration and the brake buttons as analog controls. So it works really, really well. Great setup. So that's the controllers all set up. So yeah, that's as hard as it gets, guys, to set that up. I mean, it's not difficult at all, right? And then you're off and racing and playing link play. Now, the other thing that you can do is that with this emulator, you can run it full screen. And when you run it full screen, you actually get all the benefits of it using some of your graphics card capabilities for anti-aliasing and all the rest of it. So you can actually make this game look superb. You can't do it in the window shots like this, but if you had multiple individual PCs and you wanted to upscale the graphics and have really nice anti-aliasing, you could run this linked, networked, full screen, and then you're going to get the full anti-aliasing happening. So why don't we do that now? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to minimize the second player. It doesn't really matter, I could just have it sitting in the background. I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's still actually running. And then on the first one here, I'll go to switch to full screen, and you'll see straight away that the graphics here are pretty awesome. You're still going to get some, little bit of jaggies around the text there, but anything that's drawn in terms of the 3D polygon graphics are all going to now have all your beautiful graphics card effects, and it's super smooth. Look at that, it's absolutely smooth. And look at those cars. Look at the lines on those cars. It's really, really nice. So this is really like a massive upgrade to the original game, having it scaled with these really nice graphic smoothing effects and anti-aliasing. So I'm going to have a little game here, and what's going to happen is I'm going to put in a coin, and I'll just use the beginner track. And you can see it's got waiting for other challenges, so it actually waits for a little bit because the other machine is sitting there ready for someone to put a coin in to join in with this race. And the way the link plays work is that if that person doesn't join in, then you just start, and then they can play an individual game themselves. I'm going to head over here to manual, and we're going to play the standard beginner track. Now, this is the track that I always used to play, and I guess I don't know why. I guess it's the easiest track, and when this game first came out, I think you sort of wanted to have the easiest track to start off with. The other tracks are actually really cool, but this is the first time I've really actually played the other tracks in this game is through emulation, which is bizarre, I know, but that's just, when you're putting money into the machine, you look at those number of laps and you think you're getting a shorter experience on the medium and hard settings because they're shorter a number of laps, but they're longer, of course, and they're much more interesting. But having said that, this track here, this is the classic track, and you can slow down on this one corner here, but other than that, you're pretty much flat stick around all the other corners. Now, having 40 cars going all at once, you've got this sort of situation where there's opportunity for carnage. Cars can flip out and jump out. Even yours can flip over midway racing, depending on what happens. And the cool thing there is that doesn't always happen. So it sort of happens occasionally enough for it to be a unique sort of feature that you have a massive pile-up. I've had some pretty crazy sort of situations where I've skipped between a car and one's flown over the top of me, and it's just been like really amazing, exciting head-to-head racing. And this is the thing with this game, right? You've got cars going everywhere all the time around you. When you do have another player, we talked, it's got the sort of catch-up mode, so it sort of allows the other person to catch up a little bit, which just keeps the gameplay really, really tight. It doesn't spoil it at all. You know, this is a fun game, guys. This isn't this is by no means a, you know, Daytona simulation. This is just awesome, awesome fun. So while I'm yakking on here, I'm on to lap 6 of 8. And what am I getting on? I've got quite a bit of time on the extension here, so hopefully I'll make it through to the full 8 laps. I don't always make that, especially if I get a massive crash. I probably shouldn't say that, because these guys can get a little bit aggressive. But let's see if we can... Whoops. Oh, wee. And see that car spin out like that, so cool. And you get back racing straight away, you know. Sometimes you smash like that and spin around and you just get back racing, and that's what keeps the gameplay just, you know, fast and furious. So, oh, what are we up to here? 8 seconds. The last second. Am I going to make it? Actually, I might not make it. I took that last one a little bit close. Am I going to get there? Oh, just made it on the final one. Hit the goal and got 12. And look, this is not the same. Clearly, this is not the same experience to having the wheel, the vibration on the wheel, and being in a cabinet. But this is pretty damn good. When I first had this set up, I, you know, started playing it, and I thought that maybe, you know, after a few games, I might, you know, sort of tire of it. It's actually been the reverse. I actually wanted to keep playing it and play it and play it, and then I started getting into the other tracks and started really, really enjoying it. So maybe just to finish off here, what we'll do is I'll just show you how this works with 3, just so you can see, you know, up to 3 machines happening all on the one PC. Let's get into 3 machines. So I'll have a look at the directories here, and under Model 2 Player 3 I have exactly the same configuration. But now what I need to do to get 3 machines going, I'm going to have to change this network ini file here. So we shall edit that, and just so we don't get ourselves confused, let's get this over to the side as number 3. And we can see that we need to make a couple of changes here, because this next port on number 2 needs to go over to here, which is to 1980, so that will follow the token ring, and that's all we need to make a change there. We can save that, and this one is the receive port on 80, and then it goes back to 78, which is the receive port on the first machine there. So that's all we need to do. So hopefully that makes sense, guys, and you can easily string on more machines as you need them. Right, so now I'm going to set up, I'm going to start the emulator for player 3. We'll stick that over this side. We'll go back to player 2. We'll start the emulator there, in the middle here. And then we shall go to the first one and get number 1 there, sorry. Okay, we have the 3. Now, as I said, I'm going to load up the ROMs for the slaves first. The ROMs for the slaves. And by the way, it's fairly easy to get into here under the there's a I think in the help file it actually shows you what the standard keys are, but F1 will get you into the setup to then change these settings to make them slave and the different car numbers. So you should be able to work that one out relatively easy. And those 2 are waiting, you can see. We'll go to the first one, which is the master. So you can see this is slave, number 3, number 2, and number 1. And we should see these stop. That one stopped, you can see. There we go. We've now got 3. And you can see it says up to 3 races wanted. So you know straight away that we're now connected 3-way. Then we've got the red, blue, and the yellow car. You go all the way up to 8, and look at the performance, guys. This is no difference to running 1. There's nothing here. So I reckon, you know, we could keep going here, at least have 4 running, no worries. And I've seen someone, I think, actually set up a whole 8-player on one machine. Seemed to work fine. So there you have it, guys. I hope that helps you in setting up your own little Daytona USA and reliving the experience. This is a sensational game. I can't say it enough. It really is. So that's it, guys. I hope you got something out of that today. Have some fun with it. Have some fun. Now, if you want to see more videos like this, then please subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and also hit a like if you like the video. Tell your friends, all that good stuff. So until next time, guys, make sure you take care, enjoy your arcade as always, and of course, ciao for now. You belong.